Here we go. Let's get our Facebook folks in here. And 1 and 2. Welcome in. It is Tuesday morning, September 6th, 2022, 7:32 a.m. Mountain Time. Means it's time for an episode of Broncos for Breakfast. I am Nick Kendell and joined by, as always, for these morning time live streams shows out there in Hotlanta, Scott Kennedy. Scott, how you doing? How was that football game out in Atlanta yesterday?
Wet in Atlanta, that's for sure. I was on the pod last night and watching kind of the comments coming in of Clemson and Georgia Tech, and I guess that game was pretty ugly. Was it too soon to crown DJ?
Oh yeah,
Ukulele. What's his name?
Ukulele, something like
Ukulele.
that. Yeah,
okay, I was close. Ukulele. As a first round guy.
Yeah, I mean, highly recruited guy. Every single quarterback that's gone to Clemson recently seems to have been pretty good, but no, he's definitely not lived up to the hype there. But he's still got arm talent. We'll see what happens with him. But
you don't give up on a young player, that's for sure. Just he came in and had a good replacement game for Trevor Lawrence, and everybody's ready to crown him the next big thing. Yeah, let's give it a little bigger sample size.
100%. We got Diamond Rattler coming in. First to comment today saying, boom, let's ride. Good to see you, Diamond. Jeremy Sean's in the house saying, good morning, fellas. 1 week away from an actual reaction to the start of the Wilson Hackett era. Cannot wait for that. We're getting to the point still. I mean, there's still plenty to talk about, but it's like, you get so many shows with Scott and I. It's like, okay, what is going to be the main talking point today? We got a Peter King article we'll get into here, but a week from now, they're going to be easy to write themselves with just constant content coming in, which will be great. Chase Wellner coming in here. Chase, I feel like I just followed you on Twitter. Maybe I didn't. I don't know. I feel like I was already following you, but then
Booyowa. I don't get that one. It says Booyowa.
Booyowa. I think it's Swahili. No, I don't know.
Okay.
This one's for Eric Trickle. Boo Iowa. Hawkeyes stink. The offense certainly does. I'm nervous for this Saturday's game, but
stink. Yeah, I don't get it.
Yeah, they are going to be, they need to figure out the offense. Luke Wright coming in saying, good morning, Nick and Scott. I can't believe week 1 is here. I feel like yesterday we got Russell Wilson. It does feel like everything happened really fast this offseason, but then it kind of also time slowed down there in the middle at the same time. So It's here. We're going to get some real live results and reactions, and the prognosticating, et cetera, will be over. We say the same thing about the draft every year. So many mock drafts, people think like you can put all the information together, but until you have the actual results, you don't know. And the game results themselves are just as wild. How they actually play out is just as wild as the actual draft compared to the mock draft. So prognostication season is coming to a close, and we'll have some real football to talk about. And let's ride also from Luke Wright. We got some hearts coming in from Dave Glassman over on YouTube. Good to see you, Dave. Good morning to you, Kevin Gray. Good morning, Broncos Country, Nick and Scott. Let's ride. Crimson Wolf, starting early for work on Tuesdays just means I can make it to the live show. Hell yeah, Crimson. Thanks for joining us. Happy football week, peeps. Let's ride. Ashton's in the house too. Morning, Nick and Scott. Really stoked for this season. The KC hype here in Missouri is pretty low. Ha ha. KC hype. I wonder, what do you think about Kansas City this year, Scott? Ernie Mays isn't in the house, so we can talk a little bit about another team.
Or at least we don't know he is yet. I think they're still the favorite to win the division. If you look at any of the power rankings, all the national things are still a top 5 team. Top, lower, 7 at worst. They're still dangerous. They got Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes. We just started up there ready for the Hackett Wilson era. Well, that hasn't changed in Kansas City. There have been some changes come in. They've imported some good playmakers. They lost a big playmaker. They're not going away.
No.
Are they a Super Bowl contender this year? Probably. Are they as strong as they've been in the last few years? Probably not. They're still dangerous. They are still dangerous for sure.
And unfortunately, probably the best offensive line in the division as well, which, that can be a major difference maker in a division like this, and probably the best head coach as well. So we'll see. Kansas City hype in Missouri is low. I think the reason the Kansas City hype is low is because the St. Louis Cardinals have been hot. Albert Pujols hitting 5 away from 700 home runs and sweeping the Chicago Cubs. Life is good out there in East Missouri for the baseball fans.
Well, and now they've been there a while now. It's like, okay, if we make the playoffs in an AFC championship game but don't go any further, that's almost a disappointment right now in Kansas City. So they've been riding up top for a long enough period of time where now there's trepidation, where you're like, okay, yeah, we're making the playoffs. Now what? Show me. Can you get over the top again? Can you do it, or are you just going to fizzle out again? There's a little bit of, I know this watching, the team, my team won a pro sports record 14 straight division championships, the Atlanta Braves, and then lost 10 straight playoff series. That's like, oh yeah, they're good. They're going to win the division. So what? There might be a little bit of that going on in Kansas City. And now it's back to the Missouri thing of show me you can get over the top again.
Yep. No, absolutely. It will be, got to prove it. And this is going to be a new iteration of the Chiefs. But that's the thing about when you have a franchise quarterback, you have to go through multiple evolutions as a team and with your identity. I mean, we kind of saw it. Obviously, the one that I come back to is Tom Brady. Those early Tom Brady teams with those incredible defenses gave way to the offense with Randy Moss and Dante Stallworth and Wes Welker. Gave way to the offense. What was Gronkowski and Aaron Hernandez gave way to another top 10 defense and offensive line team. So just gonna have to reinvent yourself. But as long as you have the head coach and the quarterback, you got a chance. And that's where the Chiefs are this year, unfortunately. But I'm happy to hear that the hype is low. Maybe a little bit of nervousness because the AFC West does look pretty good. Greg Smith coming in here saying Broncos country, T minus 6 days, steak, eggs, pancakes, milk, and coffee. God, I could use all of those right now. It sounds good. Thank you so much, Greg. Good morning to you. Albert Knoppers, good morning. 7 days until Broncos kickoff.
And let me hit this one real quick. I won't come back to Dakota. Yeah. Let me hit this one real quick since it's still in topic from Ashton. He says, totally disagree that they're still dangerous. They are a regular good team, 10-7 kind of team. See, this is about perspective. This is about definition. When someone says, is that team overrated? I'm like, well, what do you rate them? It depends. What do you consider dangerous? Do you consider dangerous, Ashton, a legit Super Bowl contender? I consider dangerous a team that can beat you on any given day. A 10-7 team is a team that I know that I can't go in and chalk up a win. I know if I don't bring my A game, I'm going 0-2 against them. I know that they can make some noise in the playoffs. So do I think that they're dangerous like the Buffalo Bills are dangerous? No, I think the Buffalo Bills are the favorites. That doesn't make them dangerous. Dangerous means wounded animal dangerous. They can beat you in any way. Are they at their peak of their powers? No. But can they win any given Sunday? Absolutely. More so than any team because, like you just said, they're a 10-7 type of team. That means they're winning more than they're losing. That's a dangerous team to come up against at any given time.
And they have a crazy, crazy difficult schedule this season as well. Like, I think the toughest in the league. So I would not want to play the Chiefs at 10-7, although bring them on because Broncos need to get that monkey off their back. But definitely it's a team that should not be slept on, and we'll see how it plays out. I mean, the AFC West is rough. I mean, everybody, Russell Wilson, all the hype there. For some reason, there's some Raiders hype. Chargers, everyone, Justin Herbert. Feels like there has not been much Kansas City hype, but they're still big bad until they're not. They're on top of the tower, and you got to toss them off. Albert Knoppers, good morning, Broncos. Oh, we got Dakota saying there's always that. What have you done for late me mentality? I assume Peter King has thought that with the Broncos. I'm very much a what have you done for me lately kind of guy because I want to see it to believe it. I need actual gathered data, not hypothesis. I need hypothesis testing to come to conclusions. And we have not had that yet with the Broncos with real meaningful football. So I think the Broncos right now probably, 9.5 win total. I probably put them at about that. I think that's what Vegas has them at too. And 6 seed to 8 seed, which doesn't exist. But like that range, that's probably where I'd put the majority of my money or the majority of outcomes for the Broncos this season right now. But we're going to gather data quickly this season and understand where this team is going. Could be really wrong in one way or the other, but it's going to be exciting regardless. And we're going to play some meaningful football games late into the season with exciting offense. And God, give me week 1 with that, and I'm already over the moon, one game at a time. We got Facebook user, good morning. Love the underdog role and the doubters. Absolutely. Hopefully the Broncos are using it. Big E, good morning, everybody. I hope everybody had a good Labor Day weekend. Blaze coming in saying, who is Peter King? Scott, who is Peter King?
Peter King is one of the, you can use the word legendary, and, people who aren't at least my age will scoff a little bit because sometimes they think legendary is, you mean that old guy? Long-time writer in the NFL. Him and Dr. Z are, two of the originals, two of the biggest name national guys that have been around for a long, long time. Sports Illustrated for a long time, and then kind of spun off to do some of his own things. Yeah. My question on this, and I started it before, and to be fair on Peter King, I don't know if you want to jump into this real quick, because I didn't pick the Broncos to make the playoffs, which I'll probably live to regret.
Yep.
But when we're talking about, predictions and what do people say, and you said what have you done for me lately? Who did I say when we were just coming on? How do I rank power rankings right now? When I look at power rankings, how am I looking and seeing which team are they ranking to see if I think they're credible or not?
The Miami Dolphins.
The Miami Dolphins. Speaking of what have you done for me lately? So he's got the Miami Dolphins in at 9-8 over the Denver Broncos. So no, not for me. You got the Chiefs at 11-6, and it's not even because you've got extra teams coming in from the West, which I'm still not sure if we decided you can have every team. I don't think you can.
I think it's possible, but
we can.
I think it's
all four
possible.
Teams from the AFC West making the playoffs.
It would require like ties and stuff, so it's actually possible, but not in
right, because there's seven teams now since they've expanded. But when you've got the 9-8 Miami Dolphins in the playoffs, and actually 9-8 makes sense to me, but I think 9-8 is a pretty low bar for this team for the Denver Broncos. If they're not 9-8, we're going to consider the season. If they're not 10-7, we'll be probably a little disappointed. Mm-hmm. But 9-8 would be a disappointing season for this team.
Yep, I agree. And also, maybe the Broncos finish 9-8 and lose the tiebreakers in this situation. But we'll get into that in a little bit. I want to say hello to everybody. Michaela coming in. Good morning to you. She said she's wearing Broncos swag all week. Love it. Oh, that's awesome. Mark Schrader's in the house too. Good morning, guys. Awesome to see you. Lance Johnson's in the house. Good morning from Texas, fellas. Game week. We also got Peter, Freddie, Rail Sr. saying, good morning, gentlemen. Good to see you. Quentin Carson. Good morning, fellas. Gabe's in the house. Morning, lads. Colin Wood saying the Broncos right now are a mystery. Even to us, we haven't really seen anything that tells us what this team is going to look like. Yeah, it's going to be hard to understand. It does seem like they have a lot of good playmakers on the defensive side of the ball. I'm excited about the depth of the pass rush if the top guys can stay healthy. Not a mystery. Patrick Surtain and Justin Simmons we could have an argument at the end of the season that they are the best at their positions in the NFL. I think that's a possibility, but a lot of question marks as well. But you know what? It's the same thing we always said, last year, all this speculation about Drew Lock or whatever. Just let the games play out, and we're going to figure it out with the rest of us. So it's just a waiting game right now. A little patience. We're going to understand where this team falls.
I wouldn't say we haven't, I guess, really seen is there. We haven't really seen anything that tells us what this team is going to look like, but we've got indicators. We've got some decent indicators. There are some veterans here. We've got indicators of what this team can be like. So now it's just a matter of going out and prove it. Robot of Doom on Twitch says, good morning, gentlemen. I'm already starting to prep the nice fresh crow for all the haters, starting with KC fans and, of course, Nick Wrong. So
not me. That's not my name.
Yeah, no, Nick Wright. Like I said, I'm not even sure who he is, who he works with.
I think he's ESPN. I know he's Fox. I don't know.
Like I said, I don't know. But I've always said, the best way to get people, unless you just like the banter, I don't. There's an old saying: if you can't take it, don't dish it out. I don't take it worth a damn. So I don't dish it out at all. So when I've got somebody that has, takes that are just inflammatory for being inflammatory, the best way to get them is turn them off. Yeah. Ignore them. Otherwise, I come in, I see these trolls engaging on social media, commenting on my site. That's making me money, dude. I'm like, thank you for the comment. Thank you for engaging. Thank you for promoting my brand. Thank you for encouraging other people to come to my site. So all of that eating crow and dishing it back out on them, those inflammatory folks, they live on that. They start driving new cars for that. You don't like them? Change the channel, man. Change the channel.
Yeah. Yep, absolutely. But don't change this channel. Timothy Munson coming in with the number 1 Broncos Let's Ride, Denver Broncos for life, and salute. Thank you so much. We also got, let me see who else. Albert Knopper is coming in. I think our offense could be on par with the Chiefs' offense. That would be awesome. I think the Broncos' weapons are better than the Chiefs, but the Chiefs' offensive line looks far more stable. So it'll come down to who's the better quarterback, Russell Wilson or Patrick Mahomes, probably in the end. I mean, you'd be hard-pressed not to take Mahomes in that one-on-one situation, not to the fault of Russell Wilson. There's only probably one quarterback in the NFL I'd hear an argument for, maybe two quarterbacks that you're an argument for that you'd take over Mahomes in Allen and Rodgers. But definitely a chance. And one thing could go wrong with Kansas City too. Let's say their weapons aren't good. Let's say the change of their personnel with losing Tyreek Hill hurts them. We're going to find out. But heck, man, if the Broncos offense is on par with the Chiefs, I like our defensive personnel better. So that would be a good thing for the Broncos this year, no doubt. Darren coming in, Darren Applegate saying, good morning, let's ride. Peter also saying, I've been curious. What is this? I don't know what you're saying there.
Here, I got it down here.
Okay.
Down here from Peter, Peter says, since Russell Wilson didn't play during the preseason, don't you think that will affect him? Or was it a contractual thing or just to keep himself and healthy? The last one, it's not a contractual thing. Those players want to go out and play, but if something happens, and I've kind of said, think about this on a larger level. When the game is too dangerous to play, maybe the game's too dangerous. It's like, well, what other sport do you have? You keep people out of scrimmages, out of friendlies, out of stuff like that to get them tuned up besides football.
Maybe rugby.
I don't think they do anything friendly. I'm teasing,
yeah.
But they hold their starters out because they are too valuable. You're talking about, financially speaking, 25% of your team, not this year, but you know what I mean, as far as the effect that you have on your team, the limited number of slots, the salary cap and everything. Nobody's got depth at the quarterback position because it's too expensive for your starter. You've got one, man. So you got to keep them in bubble wrap until they matter. If he was a rookie, probably affect him. I'd like to see him get out there, even a second-year guy, first-year starter. But and this guy's been throwing to his receivers and everything against the Denver Broncos defense in pretty simulated live action.
Yeah.
And he knows what it's like to feel backside pressure. He knows what it's like to recognize coverages. He's a veteran, so I'm not too worried about him being affected too much by the lack of reps. Now, I can't say that for everybody, Nick.
Yeah. He should be fine. It might be, a few games early on, Broncos kind of having a feeling out process, but that might be true regardless of preseason or not, because the other team's not playing their starters. The other team is probably playing a lot more simple coverages. So there's always probably going to be a little bit of lag. I think you'd make the trade-off of the offense looking a little bit disconjointed early in the season if you could guarantee your quarterback, Russell Wilson, being healthy. So it is what it is. And the Broncos also suffered one of the worst injuries in football this season to game, one of the most impactful in losing Tim Patrick, at least that I can think of. So rough, but hopefully
Buccaneers have lost a couple of centers down there. I know they're like to their third guy right in the middle of their offense.
Yeah.
Which that's arguable, but those are big ones for sure.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Again, we've talked about a lot with the Denver Broncos. If you could afford any place to get in a single injury, it might be edge. It might be one. Nick, if I told you right now, everybody's going to be healthy, but you're going to lose one, which two positions would you choose? I'd be okay with edge. If you told me everybody else was going to be healthy, I'd be okay with that.
I'm going to take it a slightly different angle at this one and kind of game the system here. But one of them being tight end, because I think your starters are so close to what you can find replacement wise that if you lose a starting tight end, okay, you're going from a 72 overall to a 70 overall on free agency. Okay, that is what it is.
Yeah.
The other one,
Gabe, I was being serious here. Come on,
yeah.
Now. I meant amongst players that you're counting on.
Yeah.
Tim Patrick was a key player. You've asked me this before, Nick, and I've said the same thing. Other than Russell Wilson, who is the most valuable player on this team? For me, it's Garrett Bowles. He is the least replaceable player on this team, not just schematically, but personnel wise. We're hand wringing over right tackle right now, and the third one being in. And will Billy Turner be able to play healthy? And is he even going to be the answer? You guys are making me blush in here in the chat. Anyway. That you cannot, Garrett Bowles becomes the second most important player on this team for me.
Yep.
But Tim Patrick, no, I don't mean to downplay it. But it's, having an injury definitely was huge for sure.
Yeah.
I was just talking about losing two centers or losing Tim Patrick. Which one is more impactful? It depends on the team, obviously, but those are both severe injuries was my point.
Yeah. Totally. I guess the other one would be tight end comes to mind immediately just because I don't think you're close to replacement level already at the position this season. I don't know. Maybe I guess the other one might be running back because I think Mike Boone could be a really good number 2 still.
Yeah, you'd be okay there.
Yeah.
You'd be okay there. Let's get off of this conversation where this is like we're acting like voodoo warlocks here. So,
and I will say that I disagree with you.
Bad juju here. Let's
move on.
Swing it around, one over the shoulder, and we're ready to go again. Okay, sorry about that, everybody.
Absolutely, and we'll get some good juju in here. Mike Hurt coming in. Good morning, Mile High Salute. Good to see you. Luke Wright, Russell Wilson going to throw some bombs to Cortland this year. That'll be great. We got Andrew Lampy. Good morning, Andrew. We appreciate you over there on Facebook coming in with the stars. God bless you, Andrew. That's awesome. I got to be honest. I do not know how to pronounce this first name.
Brazil is Portuguese, so you pronounce the J. After that, I'm not sure with the tilde over the A. I would just say João Miguel. So help us out with that one. We're not used to Portuguese, so when people say Jose Mourinho, they're like the J is silent. I'm like, no, that's Spanish, you freaking hicks. But Portuguese, you're saying hello from Brazil. Hello there. Gonna watch one of my favorite Brazilians later today, Thiago Silva. So
awesome.
Anyway, so welcome. Glad you're with us today.
Yeah, Broncos country. We're everywhere, baby. It's great. Thank you for joining us this morning. Kenneth Booker coming in. Good morning. What is Jerry Jeudy's floor and ceiling this year? What stat line gets him an extension? And what stat line have the Broncos move on from him? The Broncos still have 2 years of control after the season with him, and you couldn't give him an extension until after the season anyway. I can't imagine a world where he gets an extension given his first 2 years of play so far. So I honestly, and what stat line gets him an extension, it's going to be as much what development with his maturity gets him an extension as well. Because it does not sound like some people in the front office have been the most excited about Jerry Jeudy's just coming of age adulthood. I guess I'll put it that way. As far as his floor and ceiling, I mean, ceiling 7 touchdowns, 1,100 yards, 100 catches. Floor 60 catches, 700 yards, 3 touchdowns. I don't know. I'd have to look at what the basics are for the league. I need like a baseline to see what the average is, but they're just off the cuff.
Mine was a shade close, but a shade more variance. And I was just thinking yardage, and it was a wide variance. There's a wide variance in his floor and ceiling because he's got the talent, but he hasn't proven it yet. So I feel like the same thing. I'm like, this becomes another either or question, Nick. Who's got the wider variance, Jerry Jeudy or Randy Gregory? When you talk about floor to ceiling, those edge guys or Jerry Jeudy? Because for me, Kenny, when I read this question, mine was 600, 1,200. He should get, 35 catches, 600 yards, some big plays in there, or 40 catches, 600 yards, I think of as a floor for him. That's a meh. That's a wide receiver 3 that I can get off a practice squad somewhere. That should be his floor. His ceiling, 80 catches, 1,200 yards, somewhere in the neighborhood when he really becomes a key player. So truth lies probably somewhere in the middle. Let's put somewhere 1,000-yard season would be very good for him. And being that you have a built-in cheap franchise tag, cheap-ish, considering he's a first-round pick, and you've got that 5th-year option still available that Nick was alluding to, you pick that up, work on the extension during his option year, if that's what it comes to.
And that's still a year away. This is just year 3 for him. So you still have 2 years.
2 years.
So,
yep. So I wouldn't go for an extension this year. No matter what he's doing. Again, this is the Bradley Chubb argument, make him prove it. But the difference is his option year would be in the neighborhood of probably around 11 million, 12 million, as opposed to 30 million, which is what the top receivers are making.
Yeah. Yep. So need to see it from him multiple times. Need to see him be healthy. Need to see him just take control of the room. You're be a dude. Bama X coming in saying, good morning, Broncos country. Missed the podcast live yesterday. Figure you all had the day off. Nope, we were there. You can go back and listen to it after the fact too, for everybody who's curious what we talked about. All the days blur together. What year is it? Crimson Wolf coming in. Broncos finished the 1 seed in the playoffs for the first year with Manning. Why expect anything less with Russell Wilson? This is going to maybe upset some people, but Russell Wilson's a very, very, very good quarterback on his way to Hall of Fame. Peyton Manning has an argument for the greatest to ever play the position. I think that expecting the Peyton Manning level of play from Russell Wilson is probably a little bit high. I don't think that he's going to come in and break the all-time passing touchdown record and have a just nuclear statistical output. I think he's going to be very good in the top, 7 to 5 range. But Peyton Manning, until I guess that Rams game in 2014, was on a pace that we'd never seen from a quarterback before. That's not even hyperbole. He was putting up per game averages that were not done before. So that's probably one reason I would expect a little bit less with Russell. Also, in 2012, are you telling me that you expected before seeing Peyton Manning, the Broncos, to be the number 1 seed? Because good on you. I am way more, I guess, cautious in my approach, and seeing is believing. 2012, especially the first, was it 3 games, or the Atlanta game where he threw 3 interceptions in the second quarter. Some concern there. Had to get it all ironed out, and then the Broncos went on a tear. Possible this season. The other thing here, long little diatribe here for me, but the AFC West was horrible when Peyton came over, and that is not the case right now. It's night and day difference. You had the Chargers, who were solid, but the Raiders were an absolute laughingstock. Chiefs were coming off. I think the Chiefs maybe had the number 1 overall pick the year before Peyton came over, I believe, that 2013 season. Then Peyton came in 2014, if I'm correct. No, excuse me. Well, either way, Chiefs had the number 1 overall pick at some point in that time. And the AFC West was just trash. Not the case right now with Russell Wilson coming over. AFC West is very dynamic.
Yeah, my thought was initially like, well, were the Denver Broncos a better team in 2011? They made the playoffs, but they were 8-8, and frankly, their slash lines, to use a baseball term, were kind of flukish. 25th in points, 24th in total defensive points. They were a bottom 3rd team that eked their way into the playoffs and got dangerous. Ashton, they were a dangerous team. They knocked somebody out that wasn't being expected. So there's no, I expect is one thing, but can the Denver Broncos finish with the number 1 seed? I think that might be stretching it, but can they win the division? Yeah, they can. Absolutely. I think Buffalo's just got an easier road than anybody in the AFC West to get a number 1 seed. Can you win the division? Sure, absolutely. What did we say when we talked floor and ceiling for the Denver Broncos? I think I said 13-4. 13-4 is going to win this division.
Yeah, 13-4 will put you in the conversation for the 1 seed. But we'll see. Lawrence Rivera, woohoo, everyone! The season's going to be all in the coaching to see if we can still create progress. If our stars get hurt, knock on wood, God, and if our defense can hold up with our offense, I get out. Our defense will be more tired if Russell Wilson gets to the end zone quickly. Depth is going to be key on the defense, and we have a lot of questions on the depth on the defensive line and at cornerback, and those will be tested in the AFC West, no doubt. So we'll see what happens. We have Leroy Williams coming in saying, good morning, guys. My last salute question. What was the reason to bring in Carson Strong and 3 receivers for tryouts? Seth Williams still gauging his options. I guess he's not an option here in Denver anymore now that they signed Vincent Smith, the name.
That's right. Yep. And it's actually fairly phonetical, which is nice.
Yep. Yes, absolutely. Carson Strong. I don't know. I've been told I kind of liked him, a year ago, almost a year ago at this point, saying, okay, he's got a chance to maybe be a guy because he's got a good arm. I'm not very much in on the statuesque quarterbacks. I need a little bit of playmaking ability from my quarterback position. In the words of Jim Harbaugh, what he wants at his quarterback, the guy needs to be able to turn water into wine. So somebody who's, a little bit of creativity and can do things for you as a playmaker. Don't think that's Carson Strong. But the big thing with him is that I've heard his knee is absolutely cooked. So maybe they're bringing him in for medicals as much as anything.
Well, and if I'm in personnel, it doesn't really cost me anything when you think of, a billion-dollar business here. I'm having tryouts all the time.
Yeah.
It's networking. It's maybe I'll find something. Scouts like to scout. We like to dig. And, I always call it treasure hunting. Maybe I see something in somebody that nobody else did. Maybe.
Yep.
Why not? Why not bring them in? You might find something. My job as a general manager is to replace you. It's to always make my team better. It's your job is to make yourself irreplaceable as a player, as a general manager. I'm looking to replace you constantly. I mean, that's an oversimplification, but as George Payton's staff and personnel, they're looking for upgrades every single day, every single minute. That's what they do.
Yep. And if you're not doing that, you're not doing your job. Quentin coming in saying, I see the defense being the foundation once again. They're going to wreck opposing offensive lines this year. Hopefully, if I think the Broncos pass rush could be really talented, I'm a little bit worried about first and second down stopping the run right now. But we'll see how it plays out. Kaleon coming in here. Yo, good to see you, Kaleon. We also got one of our Mile High Huddle ladies saying Scott equals handsome! Exclamation point. Sorry, I had to throw that one out there. I know you talked about it earlier.
Pretty good for 72. I'll tell you that much.
Absolutely. We also got Keep It Real Denver KB2. Jeudy will go to a contender if he leaves. It's smart to keep him around. Well, we need to see how he plays this year. This is a big year for him. Stepping up.
Jeudy strikes me as a guy who signs the biggest paycheck is where he goes.
Yep.
You know, and there's nothing wrong with that. Believe me, you're going to play in the NFL and you're going to
get paid.
Get paid. Why not go to Jacksonville and get crazy money and catch balls from Trevor Lawrence? Okay. That doesn't sound bad.
He's from Florida too. So
yeah, that's why it was an easy leap to a bad team that spends crazy money that has a good quarterback.
Yep.
Scott just traded Jerry Jeudy to Jacksonville.
You heard that, guys. Dennis Chandler coming in. Which group, offensive, defense, special teams, coaching, could get off to so much sluggish start week one? I think for me, it's the offense. I could see the offense being a little bit discombobulated early. Let's say the Seahawks do a really good job of stopping the run up front and you're in 3rd and long consistently. Russell Wilson feels pressure to do a little bit too much, makes a silly turnover at some point. So those are the ones that stick out to me. I can't imagine the defense getting off too slow of a start given, and I could be totally wrong here, but I just do not respect the personnel of the Seahawks or the Texans. Talking week 2 as well on paper. Now,
the Seattle Seahawks aren't strong enough up the gut, I don't think, to really scare you where you have this, where you're scared, which is the middle of that defensive line and its depth and holding up over 4 quarters. And well, that's it. And holding up over 4 quarters, that's not Seattle's. They're not good enough to do that right now.
No.
This game would have to be kind of fluky, for Seattle to win. It's going to be one of those that, ball bounces the wrong way, a couple turnovers, some penalties. The Broncos are going to have to beat themselves to lose to the Seahawks.
Yep, absolutely. Kathy coming in saying, hi, Scott and Nick. Hello, Broncos country. Finally able to catch a live show again. Our D ends up top 5 in the league this year. So, Scott, I'm going to bring it back to a point you made earlier. You said that the most irreplaceable player on the Broncos, besides Russell Wilson, of course, being Garrett Bowles. I got to stick with my guns here. I still think it's Patrick Surtain. I think he is the linchpin of the entire defense. I think you can kind of change around what you're doing offensively if you don't have Garrett Bowles, more quick passing games, just a little bit more help there, and not relying as much on the 5-step, 7-step drops. I think if you lose Patrick Surtain, this goes from a possible top 5 defense to a possible bottom 10 defense. That's how good he is. That's how important he is. And from what I see coverage wise, it is completely based around Surtain erasing one area of the field.
Yeah, I like to think, that the defensive line, if Randy Gregory and Bradley Chubb are playing like their hair's on fire, Patrick Surtain becomes less important.
Yeah.
Garrett Bowles is going to be important on every play, at left tackle, where, because on the flip side of that, if the edge on the other side is getting a free run every time, it doesn't matter what else is going on. He's wrecking your offense. So again, if I've got 2 edges and Baron Browning coming in when those guys catch a breath, if I've got 2 guys on the edge, 3 guys on the edge that are Nick Benito coming in just for, giggles to be a speed rusher after these guys are huffing and puffing because they can't catch Gregory and Chubb. And if they're wrecking the offensive backfield, the cornerbacks aren't as important. So for me, I can scheme a little bit better. I can roll the safety. I still got Justin Simmons over there. I'm not going to, I don't measure levels of elite. They're both incredibly important. I wouldn't tell you you're wrong with Surtain, but for me, it's left tackle on this just because there's nobody else right now.
Yeah. DeAndre Witherspoon saying the Broncos offense will be better than they have been the past few years. God, they better be. The defense will be better also. We'll see about that one. The coaches got to prove their worth. The players have to show it on the field. There will be growing plays and a feeling out process. I think the defense will be better this year just by virtue of the offense and special teams being better. The defense the last few years, it's like, having to fight with both your hands tied behind your back constantly, terrible starting field position, pretty consistently, not playing with a lead. Other teams just able. I mean, we saw it in that Bengals game. I always harken it back to the water boy when they're essentially kneeling the ball. You like my new offense, that kind of thing. That's what the Bengals did to the Broncos last year.
Trust me.
Yeah, exactly. The Bengals last year said, once we get a lead, as long as we don't turn the ball over and make a dumb mistake, we're going to win this one easy. Now, I know a lot of people like to talk about, Surtain shutting down Jamar Chase, but the Bengals had no interest in putting the ball in any way harm's way, because once they had the lead, they parked the bus, I guess, essentially. And you can't do that when your offense is formidable, like the Broncos offense should be this season, which lends itself to the defense having more opportunities to make game-changing plays. So because you're going to have to put yourself in situations to be a little bit more precarious, aggressive with the football, because the other team can keep up with you. So that should help the defense a good bit. Still a little bit worried about the ability to stop the run up front. But we'll see how that plays out as the season continues. Thank you so much, DeAndre. You also got Dom coming in. Have you guys watched the behind the scenes Broncos episode yet? Very cool to see Simmons and Patrick Surtain in the new episode. I have not seen it yet. I will definitely put that on over lunch today. But that'll be great to see. And I'll let Scott peruse the comments here. We got Glenn also saying, morning, fellas. Good to see you. But we want to talk, and Alvin coming in here. Peter King is a doofus. Well, Peter King's, he says it so himself. He might be a doofus in the article, and I'm going to share the article here.
And that's okay. When you're in the business of prognosticating and predicting, you're going to be wrong. You're going to make people mad. I'll be on. It's try and be humble about it. And say, listen, we do it. The only way to not be wrong and to not look like an idiot is to not make any predictions. Well, what fun is that? What fun is that? I'll own them. If these guys, if things go wrong, I'll absolutely own them. So will Nick. Just be humble about it.
Yeah. And anybody who tries to distort the reality of they've never been wrong or then makes excuses about it, somebody you don't want to deal with, probably a narcissist or something like that.
I've worked with people like that, and I'm like, man, he's an amazing talent evaluator. He's never missed. Just ask him.
Yep. You want to be wary of those folks, because when you're predicting the future, life happens. There's too many variables and unpredictability and entropy in the world. But I digress. Peter King's article coming in over on NBC Sports, talking about the Broncos here. Didn't have the Broncos making the playoffs. He had the Miami Dolphins coming in with a 9-8 record, squeaking by and getting the final seed in the AFC. Also had the Chargers and the Chiefs making it. The Raiders missing. Thank God I don't get the Raiders hype at all. But we'll continue here. Peter King saying, I didn't pick the Broncos to make the playoffs, which I'll probably live to regret. See, right away. Maybe he is a doofus, but he's having fun with it. That's what I do. This year's AFC West is the toughest division I remember since the NFL went to 8 4-team divisions in 2002. All 4 teams have at least 10 games against 2021 teams with winning records. I picked the Chargers and the Kansas City to make the postseason, but nothing will shock me. As one coach told me on my camp tour, no road team winning an AFC West game this year will be an upset. Think of that. Best line I heard on my camp tour. Wow. No road team winning an AFC West game this year will be an upset. Wild. The Broncos have been.
Let's not read the whole thing.
Okay.
I put a link in the chat. It's let's take some cliff notes and start moving on. Like you said, is it a crapshoot with the AFC West? Maybe. I think so. Again, I go back to the phrase like, oh, the AFC West can't be good. They're going to beat up on each other. So what? If they do beat up each other and everybody finishes 3-3, there's 14 other games. This isn't an unbalanced Major League Baseball schedule, where you're playing a third of your games against your division. Well, bad example, because a third is a long time. They play 162 games. Yeah. But there's 14 more games. I just did that wrong completely, didn't I? There's still possibility to win 14 games. Math. Yeah, no math today. You can go 3-3 and win 14. So I'm not too worried about the division itself, as long as you hold your own. Don't worry about getting beat up. Don't worry about, but obviously you want to beat the Chiefs because you haven't done it forever. You need to kind of establish yourself that, yes, the Broncos are back. We're legit again. And it's hard to do that if the Chiefs keep stepping on your necks.
Yeah, absolutely. And also the Broncos haven't beaten the Raiders on the road since 2015 as well. I think that's going to be a big measuring stick game. If the Broncos can go into Vegas and come away with a win on the road in the AFC West, I wouldn't say that's stealing a game, but that's one of those ones where it's like that might make all the difference in the world come the end of the season. That one game on the road that you're able to take against the division rival Raiders. So watch out for that one. I think that's a big one as a measuring stick game this year. And I think that game comes around pretty early this season as well. I think Raiders might be week 6, 7. So on the road in Vegas. So I'm excited for that game. I'm excited for week 1. Jacob Foster, always excited to see you come in with the support over on Facebook with the stars. Thank you so much, Jacob Foster. We appreciate you always keeping the lights on for these morning shows. And stick around, hang out. If you have any questions, like I always say, make sure you drop it in there. But Jacob Foster, the internet version of a mute, seen, not heard, but we're doing the talking for you.
Yeah, looking at those games, looking at the schedule again, we went through it again. At Seahawks, your favorite, that should be a win. Versus Texans, you will be big favorites. That should be a win. 49ers will be tough at home. And this is where I said, I think the Broncos will probably be favored. It might be close against the Raiders, but I think they could and should win all 3 of these games. Home 49ers, at Raiders, home Colts. So I think I said, individually, I like the Colts in all of them, but not on all 3 of them. I think they're 2-1 in that stretch, and a 4-1 stretch, 5-1 stretch, 4-1 stretch in those first 5 games would be pretty solid. So again, of those games, do you want to go out again? Now we're like picking injuries. Which loss did you pick? Stop picking losses, dude. Yeah. But yeah, that one at Raiders is a big game. And again, with a 17-game season, one bad game, flush it and go on to the next one. But that's still a pretty important game. Coming out in the division on the road and with a chance to sweep a division opponent would be really, really strong.
Yeah, no, that'd be amazing. And you said flushing a game, that happens. Some game there'll be Nathaniel Hackett. Guess what, guys? At some point this season, he's probably going to make a boneheaded game flow decision. Being a young coach, Andy Reid still does that 3-4 times a year. Doesn't make him a bad coach, but sometimes it'll cost you games. You just hope that he's on the other end, winning more games and losing it. Same with quarterback too. I think about it like we're coming down to the wire here in the baseball season. Sometimes you have your ace pitcher and he goes out there and he can't locate the slider. He just doesn't have it that day. Guess what? You're going to figure it out. We're going to take you out today. We love you. You're still our guy. We're going to lose this game because you didn't have it today, but we're winning. You're going to be a 20-game winner this year, and we're where we're at because of you. So that's going to happen probably at some point this season with Russell Wilson. He's going to be confounded by something and have a bad game, flush it, and move on.
Think like the preseason. I mean, I know it's not exactly the same, but weren't the Broncos 2-1? I've kind of forgotten. Didn't they win their first one? Okay, so they're 2-1. You're hemming and hawing over the one, but you're 2-1. Okay, at the end of the season, it's not how, it's how many. So there's going to be some games in there where you're like, oh my God, we're awful, and oh my God, we're Super Bowl winners. Yeah. Just on a long enough timeline, the standings will tell. The standings will tell. So I call week 1 overreaction season. And we will have that. Yeah. we will have your instant overreaction immediately following the Broncos Seahawks.
I mean, week 1 last year, I remember we were writing the proverbial we in the NFL media. What's wrong with the royal we? What's wrong with the Packers? They just gave up 50 points to the Saints. Are the Packers done? Is Aaron Rodgers done? And then they went on to only lose 3 regular season games last year, I believe, 3 or 4. So definitely you want to gather more than one game. It's a blip in the data set, but give me those blips. Once they start adding up, it's then you really get a picture. A pointillism, if you will, for the Broncos season. We got Malachi Martin. What do you guys think our points per game average will be better than 17 points this year? It better be.
Yeah, I was you mentioned on par with the who's that team in Kansas City with the Chiefs?
Yeah.
And I looked them up, and the Chiefs were 28 points per game last year. So they were, let me see, I'll sort by here. The Chiefs were the 4th highest scoring offense at 28.2, and the Broncos were 19.7. Can you get another touchdown out of this team per game? Move it to the 26 range?
The Broncos averaged 19.
The answer is yes.
Yeah.
The answer is yes, Nick. Yes, I can expect another 7 points per game from this team. I should expect another 7 points. That's a lot. I mean, that's a 33%, more than a 33% increase when you talk about it like that. But you move from 19 to 26 and a half. That puts you where the Colts were last year, which was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 9.
Yeah.
So 27 puts you in the top 10 last year, right there with the Rams. So, yeah, I think you can expect, based on competency in several key areas and more. Now, I don't think you finish with a third scoring defense, though. I think that one comes down because I think you will have more plays against. I think you can be a better defense but give up more points. Mm-hmm. Why? Because you'll have the ball more. There'll be more possessions per team. There will be the game itself will be higher scoring, but your points for and your point differential should go this way. There should be a wider gap in the two, which is, at the end of the day, is what you're looking for. Am I scoring more than my opponents? Not just am I keeping my opponents from scoring by dragging the game down to a dull 1980s Big 8 wishbone game.
Yeah, suffer ball, as you like to call it. And you don't create explosive plays unless you're looking to create explosive plays. So hopefully the Broncos will do that on offense this year. I think the line for expectations this year, the Broncos need to score more than 24 points a game. That's about league average, and anything less than that would be extremely disappointing. I do think the Broncos will score more points this year, but I don't think it's going to be this hyper-paced Drew Brees, drop back 50 times a game kind of offense. I still think that the run game is going to be the Broncos will probably be farther on the right of the bell curve as far as run-pass splits with more running game than your average team. And then maybe that's a hot take. I don't know. I just think that that's probably how Russell Wilson plays best. You want to have a competent run game with it and not have him be a high volume thrower, but a high efficiency thrower. Right. I think that's the way to go with Russell Wilson if you can.
In a perfect world, I like the idea of 17 for 25 and 3 touchdowns, knocking on the door of 275 yards.
Yep.
That'd be nice. I don't have to put the ball in there 40 times a game to get big numbers. That's old school. That's 80s play action, running the ball, play action type of games. And there's some teams that won a lot of games in that era too. Dennis Chandler comes in. The Broncos will be better than the Falcons this year. Scott, I said it. That's a bold statement. I tell you. I said I kind of joked. I put an article up on my Falcons Facebook page about this former Chicago Bears guy. They're all former Chicago Bears. It's a running joke in Atlanta. And a Bears fan comes in and starts talking trash. I'm like, dude, you're picking on the small kid here, the runts, and on top of that, you suck.
Yeah.
I'm like, go find a Packers page and try and pick on them, and they'll laugh you out of there. I'm like, we know you're picking. I've told it before. You can't hurt a Falcons fan any more than the Falcons have hurt Falcons fans. It's just, you can't do it. Yeah. So it's like, oh yeah, you're trash talking. Yeah, I'm not gonna bite here, dude. I don't care.
It's like the cartoon of
this was a missing piece to the Super Bowl run.
Yeah,
I know you were kidding, Dennis. I know you were kidding.
Bears fan making fun of the Falcons is like, it makes me think of the picture of the dad yelling at the mom, yelling at the kid who bullies the other kid, who then goes home and yells at the dog. It's like very much a trickle down on that one. Unfortunately, Bears, rough times. Nigel Watt's coming in. To me, this season needs to be a positive with a first-year new quarterback for us and new coaching staff. If we can get the season with more wins than losses, then that is progress. I agree with you overall, but I will say that with the way the Broncos team is currently set up and the lack of draft capital that will be in this last draft class and the next draft class that should be growing emerging talents over 23, 24, the time is now. I don't think that we should be, just totally taking it easy. A lot of these teams, we've seen it with the Rams last year. We saw it with the Buccaneers 2 years ago. You get that quarterback, you're off and running. So while I agree with you, a net positive this season would be great. I think the expectations should be playoffs, and not even the expectation, the demands should be playoffs. I know the AFC West is tough, but guess what? If you're going where you want to go, you're going to have a tough road. So I think the expectation should be playoffs. Anything less than that should be massively disappointing, and probably there should be some accountability in Dove Valley if they miss it.
Hey, if it was easy, everybody would do it. That's what I always said. Now 9-8, I think, would be disappointing. I'd be a little disappointed with this team if they finish 9-8. 10-7, I'm like, okay, I'm a little disappointed, but not. It's a different level. And 11-6 is that 10-7 line for me is the line of, was this season positive, neutral, or negative? I guess I kind of went the other direction. For those of you listening, I'm going up and down a ladder here. Is it positive, neutral, or negative? 10-7, all things being equal, and then you're a first round out type of team in the playoffs. Now you go 10-7 and pull the Cincinnati Bengals and make a run and go to the Super Bowl. That changes things.
Yeah.
But regular season, 10-7 is the line for me for the, am I happy or am I a little disappointed? That's it.
Yeah, absolutely. And we got to start getting out of here. But a question coming in from Peter Freddie Real Sr. Saying the Broncos will be dangerous. Many fans are being negative skeptical. I don't get it. We're in such a great place compared to the last 6 years. Why do you think? I think because of the last 6 years, people are skeptical. And this also might just be the personality. I am very much, and I think I know Scott's not is the same way as me. Seeing is believing, and just a little bit guarded. If you're looking for somebody to drink the orange Kool-Aid and bang the drum of we're the best ever without wearing the rose-colored sunglasses, probably not the show here. There's some more fan-based podcast out there that's probably more your style, where everything is awesome, every player ever is the best ever, and things are great. No, we're going to try to take a little bit more of a skeptical lens here on the team, and just really try to do the best we can to predict the future. And we'll be wrong more than we're right. Maybe for myself, I can't speak for Scott, but definitely things are much better this season. Expectations have changed though. Before it was, can we figure out the quarterback position at all? Can we even come close to finishing 500, maybe knocking on the door of the playoffs? No, that's not the expectations anymore around here. It's possible the Broncos miss the playoffs. Expectations are playoffs. They should be.
Nick, I worked in a company where we'd had executive meetings, and I'd play Everything is Awesome from the Lego movie as the theme song. I'm like, okay, ready for our thing. It's amazing I can't last in executive meetings. I know, it's a real shock. That and Johnny Lang's Lie to Me. And now we're going to finish with Lie to Me by Johnny Lang. And listen, for again, I mentioned perspective on this, Peter, as far as negativity or, pumping the brakes a little bit. The negativity or that is not the Broncos are going to be 6-10 again. It's pump the brakes. You guys aren't headed to the Super Bowl. You're not quite, for those that are like, okay, 14-3, we're Super Bowl bound. It's deemed as a negative, but the bar's been raised. Right now, the worst negative thing you might see is, yes, this team might miss the playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
That's the negativity. Well, that's a jump up. We've
Massive.
raised the bar. So It's not necessarily negative like it has been in the past. It's just negative compared to various expectations. If my expectations are 14-3 and I hear 9-8, well, why are you being so negative? The bar's been raised. Negative is still ahead of where you were, which is a net positive. So think of it that way.
Yeah. Yep. It's definitely the expectations have changed. We talked to Ohio State fans from last year. They go in absolutely, put up a dynamic showing against Utah in the Rose Bowl. That's a disappointing season. Winning the Rose Bowl is a disappointing season for Ohio State fans. That's insane. So definitely, God, I would kill to win a Rose Bowl as a Hawkeye fan. But Nigel Watt saying the draft picks does worry me a lot. Yeah, I'm worried about the lack of draft picks. I'm also a little bit worried about the last draft class. Early returns have not been amazing. I know we're not. It's a different picking outside of the top 50, multiple picks in the top 50 versus where we are. But Greg Dulcich, I was kind of, okay with the pick early, but injured, already missed a year of development as a tight end or an offseason of development as a tight end. That is worrisome. We also have Nick Benito. Obviously, if he's just becomes a really good designated speed finesse pass rusher, there's value to that. But at the 64th overall pick, you should want more than that. Kind of like we want more than just a playoff berth.
Depending on the position, again,
Yeah.
would you have been better off taking a right tackle or a guard at that spot where you can get more value? Now, if you get a good designated pass rusher with that spot, then that's okay. Those guys are expensive.
Yep.
But I agree with you because I was thinking about this before, like earlier today, Nick, as I think we share a brain sometimes. I'm like, is this because actually there was an article that graded the early returns on the rookie class. I'm like, okay, well, if I've got a good rotational player out of my fourth round, Uwazurike, that's not too bad on the defensive line. No. If I've got an ace special teams player in Montreal, Washington, who works his way into the receiver rotation, that's not too bad. Dulcich, is if I'm grading, he's an incomplete, right now. Benito, we'll see what we've got. So again, I think, we have to lower the bar again when your first pick's in the 60s. So as Nigel says, and Nigel, thank you for the stars. The draft picks does worry me a lot, but what's nice is you're able to make up for that with free agent signings. You get guys that are willing to come here to come play for a championship on a 1-year deal. How many of those guys were the Patriots? And Chris Hernandez coming with the big stars.
Hell yeah.
Thank you, Chris. Huge supporter of the show. We certainly appreciate you and the support you show to all of the MHH shows, and especially ours. So thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. And Kathy coming in saying that's real, not negative. I try to listen to a German Broncos podcast, and while those guys are negative, they fear coaches suck because they never had their positions before, can't go right, and they think Russ is kind of washed because he had a bad season last year. That pod sucks. And you know what? There's a in the multiverse out there. There's
gotta start somewhere, Nick.
Yeah.
You know, you don't walk into the league with 10 years of experience and 3 Super Bowls. It doesn't start that way.
Yeah. So we'll all find out how that plays out. And man, 1 week from now, we'll be talking about that Broncos game. I'm sure I will be exhausted because I will be at the game in Seattle with my wife next Monday. So if you guys are there, hit us up. I think there's like a Broncos Seattle contingency out here, and we're going to be in lot 10, I believe. So I'm going to do a little bit more research on that. But excited to see how that plays out and excited for the game. Heck, I am jonesing, chomping for that Thursday night football game. Rams, Bills. I mean, God, as soon as that gets here, I'm going to be excited for that. And Colin Wood, amazing how the draft picks that were so great a few months ago are bummers now. I think we were always a little bit more, we talk about the positives and their impact they could have, because that's the lens that you put it through and the pick happens. But then you gather more data and see where those guys are at, and the reality becomes more clear.
And Colin, I think I wrote the exact line yesterday, give or take a word here, but it's not surprising when the shine wears off of a rookie class after the dog days of summer. Yeah. Reality hits. These guys are rookies, and this is a discussion for another day, but could X team, X superpower, could Alabama, the Miami teams, Georgia Bulldogs, could they compete in the NFL? No, they absolutely couldn't. One of the ways I've looked at it though is, but they might make a hell of an expansion team. Georgia Bulldogs are going to have, if you say, I'm going to start a team and give you 10 first-round draft picks, well, that's probably where Georgia is. The Miami Dolphins had like 10 or 12 across 2 years. If I had moved them up as an expansion team and given them 12 first-round draft picks, they'd be pretty good. But it's a completely different level of speed. And if you want to hear something ridiculous, go listen to Arthur Smith and the Atlanta Falcons when anybody asks him about a rookie. It's ugly. Yeah. The expectations are different. So, like I said, it's the bright, shiny new toy. They've got to be better. We brought them here, but reality sets in a little bit, and the luster wears off some. So it's tough.
And a final comment in here from Peter Middleton saying, Jamar Johnson, the safety 5th-round pick from the Broncos last season, didn't get a practice squad offer from anyone yet. And then he says, from 5th-round pick to bust in a year. If you're a 5th-round pick and you're out of the league in a year, I think that is a disappointment, no doubt. But I think if once you're outside of like the top 125 selections, it's pretty hard to label a guy as a bust. And with Jamar Johnson, it also talks about the value of special teams. If you are a player that is drafted outside of like the top 100 type of picks, and you're not bringing anything from the special team side, you're going to have a hard time sticking around the league, more than likely. So it will be interesting to see how it plays out.
On the flip side of that, Nick, is, what are our realistic expectations for Owazarike, who was taken just 1 round earlier?
Yeah, he was early 4th, to be fair.
But
one of the first
picks.
Yeah.
You know what I mean. He's a big guy, but he was a 4th round pick. And if he becomes a good rotational player who can hold his own on the line in his first year, that's a hit. That is a slam the sledgehammer down and you just rang the bell hit for a 4th round pick. If I can get a rotational guy on the defensive line, interior defensive line early on.
Yep, absolutely. So we'll be really excited to see how this week plays out. We will be live again tomorrow morning on Forging the Falcons. If you guys want to hang out with us there, Scott and I again, and I'll be live tonight on Building the Broncos with Carl. We have plenty to talk about, so it'll be a lot of fun. It's already Tuesday. God, what day of the week is it? And everyone sent some good vibes out to Luke, still dealing with the ramifications of his spill on his bike, dealing with a lot of post-operative pain. So wishing him the best. That sounds miserable.
Several weeks by now. So, typically a nice clean break is 6 weeks and I'm done. He's about halfway through that. So if he's still hurting, we're thinking about you, Luke. I know I've given you crap about, spilling on my Harley, but I'm a motorcycle. At least I was a motorcycle rider. I get it. I'm just teasing.
Yeah, no fun. When you can't sleep because you're in pain. That sounds miserable and not miserable. Patrick coming in here saying, good morning. I'll watch Building later. Patrick, I'm drinking the coconut roast right now. It's chilly here in Seattle, but I'm enjoying
Just finished
myself.
the
And
original blend, lioncoffee.com. Thank you, Patrick. He's out in Hawaii, so it's bright and early. You make Broncos for breakfast from Hawaii. You're the real deal.
Yep. Absolutely. God, love you. Love you guys a lot. We appreciate you. We will see you tonight again for Building the Broncos. Make sure you guys are following Scott and I on Twitter. Scott is at Scout Kennedy. I am at Nick Kendell, MHH. Also, make sure you guys are following us at BFB_pod and at Mile High Huddle. If you haven't done so yet, join our Facebook communities at facebook.com/Mile High Huddle and facebook.com/Mile High Huddle pod. And as the ticker says underneath, please subscribe, like, and share over on YouTube. Hit the bell icons, that way you know when we go live. Scott and I are pretty consistent, right there around 7:30 to 7:35, but sometimes life gets in the way, laundry, kids, traffic, who knows. So if you hit that bell notification, you'll know when we go live, so you're not just sitting around. That said, chat's already popping, so you can come in and hang out and wait for us to get the ball rolling. So we appreciate you guys. Scott, hope you and everybody in the chat had a great Labor Day weekend. I always get Labor Day and Memorial Day mixed up. And we'll see you later.
Memorial Day, May. M for May.
I know. I had to think. That's exactly what I thought.
Easiest way to do it.
Yep. 100%. We appreciate you guys. Have a great one. We'll see you later. Choose kindness and choose compassion. Go Broncos.